Hey Year 11, this is lesson 6 and it's called expected frequency. Now, expected frequency is basically the number of times that a particular event should occur. Not necessarily will occur, but should occur. Okay, as it says there, it may not be equal to the actual results. So let's look at this example here before we actually do an example. It says, for example, a coin is tossed. We know the probability of getting a heads is a half. Okay. Hence, if a coin is tossed 100 times, then we would expect the number of heads to turn up would be 50, because that's half of 100. Okay. So what we're attempting to do is we're taking the probability of heads and timesing it by the number of times we're doing the experiment. Okay, and that's how we get the expected number of 50. Now, in reality, that's not going to happen, but we're not talking about reality or actual. We're at the moment, we're just going to be talking about expected. Okay, so here's our formula here. Expected frequency is equal to n times p, where n is the number of times you perform an experiment and p is the probability of that event. Okay, let's have a look at this example here. It says 2 coins are tossed 120 times and the results are recorded. What is the expected frequency of 2 heads? Okay, so we first need to know what the probability of getting 2 heads is when we toss 2 coins. So when we toss 2 coins, we can either get one of each of the following. We could get heads, heads. We could get tails, then heads. We could get heads, then tails. And then we can get tails and tails. Okay? There are 4 things that can happen. So the chances of us getting 2 heads is going to be 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be a quarter. Okay, so in this case our probability is a quarter. Now, how many times would we expect 2 heads to turn up? If we toss it 120 times, well, we're going to take a quarter and times it by 120. And if we do that on the calculator, we'll get 30 times. So the expected frequency of 2 heads would be 30. Now, B. What is the expected frequency for a head and a tail? Well, the question here doesn't mention head and a tail in any particular order. To get a head and a tail, we've got tails and heads, or heads and tails. So I would say that is 2 chances out of the total of 4. So 2 out of 4 would be our probability of heads or tails, or a head and a tail. Okay, which we can simplify to half. So then we have a half times. How many times are we doing the experiment? We're doing it 120 times. So it's a half times 120 equals 60. So the expected frequency for heads and tails in this experiment would be 60. Okay, pretty much every single question in this worksheet is just like that. Okay, getting the probability, timesing it how many times we're attempting the experiment. Okay, that's it. Now give me a thumbs up on the video if you like it, or even subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay, and I'll see you later.